So morning everybody, and thank you for joining us today in Katie's third session, Perception Peers, Supporting Friends of Mental Health. Now, just give you a little bit of background on Katie if you don't know her already. Katie is a multi-award winning entrepreneur. She is a growth mindset educator, and she's actually going to be doing a session later this morning on growth mindset. She's a speaker, founder of 3 organisations, one being the Mind Tribe UK. She is a mentor, a trauma-informed practitioner, mental health and well-being trainer, and she is passionate about development of youth and has established 2 voluntary organisations, the Young Entrepreneur Network of Northern Ireland and the Female Youth Leadership. I could go on, however, I'm going to hand across to you later herself. Please welcome this morning, Katie Matthews.
What a lovely introduction, Shauna. Thank you. So I'm going to have to say that in all of them, or like the one later as well. Thank you very much. Lovely introduction. So, so yes, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Well done for being here. Super, well, I was going to say super early. Maybe it's just me it's super early for, but maybe for students, I remember my get up time is about 4 p.m. So well done for being here. Hopefully you're all okay, and I can see some names from the previous sessions that I recognise. So if anybody has been to one of my sessions before, if you just pop, like a yes or a little thumbs up or just something in the chat, just so I can get an idea of who knows what, basically, kind of, who's been through what sessions, that would be fabulous. And as Shauna said, today's session is Perceptive Peers, and it's supporting a friend's mental health then. Okay, so hopefully you'll be able to gain some value from today's sessions. Excuse me, I'll be coughing all the way through. I've nearly lost my voice this week from all the teaching. So, and all the laughing. I think that might be it. Oh, that's good. We see more and more coming through. So fabulous. You're more than welcome, guys. And thanks for coming back as well. So yes, today then we're going to be having a look at how we can support a friend's mental health. If anybody has already been in my sessions, apologies, you'll have seen the first couple of slides, but just for anybody that hasn't, as Shauna already said, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a mental health and wellbeing trainer. I am also the founder of some organisations, and I'm also the Northern Ireland National Director for the Global Entrepreneurship Network. The main sort of point I want to draw attention to is the fact that I have 12 years lived/living experience with mental illness. Okay, so I was diagnosed with depression when I was 17, and then diagnosed with anxiety when I was 22. So it's something that, I live with every single day. So it's something I'm quite familiar with. So that's just a little tiny whistle-stop tour of who I am. Just to say today, there may be a couple of things that might be triggering. I just always like to give a little topic warning, because obviously we are talking about mental health, mental illness. There may be some sensitive issues or maybe some words that come up. So the main thing is, just you look after your mental health, make sure that you're psychologically safe. If at any point you do need to pop out the session, or, you just need to come away from the screen for a wee minute, absolutely fine. You don't have to explain yourself. You just do whatever you need to do to keep yourself right. And then the main thing is that after today's session that, you do some sort of self-care, and then at the end we'll try and get in a wee slot for a Q&A. But as you guys probably know by now, I'm a bit of a talker, so we'll probably be going right up to 11. But I will try my best. And as I always say, if you do have a question and it's something, maybe we don't get a chance to address it today, or if it's something you'd prefer to ask privately, or you want to send a question, or absolutely anything at all, feel free to message me. You can contact me on LinkedIn, and I will put my email address in now. I normally put it at the end, but I don't know in case I forget. Okay, there we go. So that's my direct email address, just in case anybody wants it. All right, so let's get cracking then. So the main thing that we need to address straight away is our terminology. Okay, so mental health and mental illness are different. A lot of the time people use the terms interchangeably, and they don't realize that they are different things. Okay, so mental health is something that everybody has. You already have that. Okay, you can't get mental health. You have mental health in the exact same way that you have physical health. Mental illness then is something that is diagnosed, and that's only, you know, obviously only some people would have that have the diagnosis then. Okay. So currently there's 1 in 4 adults across the UK and across Northern Ireland that would have a diagnosed mental health condition. But of course, you know, that doesn't necessarily include people that might be, you know, experiencing certain symptoms or feeling a certain way, but maybe, excuse me, haven't sought that support yet. So I think, you know, we're probably going to see a big increase. You know, that there was a research, but I can't remember who did it, but there was a paper done, and they think it's more like 1 in 2 that now have, you know, a mental health condition as a result of the pandemic. It's exacerbated it. So yeah, the next year or so is going to be very interesting, you know, to see. So this session couldn't be more timely, if you like. You know, it's looking after ourselves, but of course, you know, how do we then look after our friends? You know, we might be the one that's not having those symptoms, and they might be the 1 in 2 that is. So hopefully that will give us some ideas. So a thing to be aware of is that 50% of mental health issues are already established by the age of 14. Okay, so that just, you know, speaks to the point of early intervention, and, you know, the fact that we need to be working with people when they are younger. But also this one's really important because, you know, of the age group that the majority, you know, of students will be. No disrespect to anyone who's a bit older or anything. I was an older student going back last or this year to Ulster, so don't worry. So 75% of all mental health issues are established by the age of 24. Okay, so 3/4 of those people, you know, that, or 3/4 of us, you know, that have that diagnosis already have that by the age of 24. So, you know, mid-20s, and then, you know, does that continue then? Does it potentially get worse? But also, just to say on that as well, a little bit of hope, you know, people can recover. You know, it's not just a case of that's like a life sentence almost, you know, right, that's it, that's you forever now. People can heal, people can recover. Off the back of, sorry, the pandemic, there has been a 300% increase in rates of anxiety and a 400% increase in rates of depression, and that's in people under the age of 25. So quite stark, you know, shocking statistics. That is a significant increase in both of them. So as I say, you know, this couldn't be more timely, and hopefully it will give you some skills and things to be able to help. So what is mental health? Mental health then is a positive state of mind, feeling safe and able to cope with a sense of connection with people, communities, and the wider environment. Okay, so you can see that I've picked out or put in bold, you know, some of the keywords there about, you know, it's that positive state of mind, feeling safe, able to cope, and having that sense of connection then. Okay, so mental ill health then is your broad umbrella term. So that covers mental health problems and actually diagnose mental illness then. So a mental health problem does still interfere, you know, with cognitive, emotional, and social abilities, but it's not necessarily severe enough to meet that criteria and to have a diagnosed mental illness. Usually, as I say, it's less severe, and it can be of a shorter duration than a mental illness. Then what can happen, you know, sometimes people, if they start with the mental health problems, sometimes that can, of course, escalate then into a mental illness, where they would then meet the criteria for the diagnosis. And it's the same thing, you know, it significantly interferes with cognitive, emotional, or social abilities, or should say, and or social abilities there. We know as well, there's lots of types of mental illness, and of course they have varying degrees of severity, and it's also, you know, a very individual thing. So, you know, people may not experience their illness, if you like, in the same way, and that's fine as well. You know, we're all individuals, so it's just meeting the person where they are. So over to you guys. Let's have some ideas in the chat. I've written type in the chat there to remind me to say it. So so what behaviors or signs might we notice if a friend may be struggling with their mental health? Okay, so afterwards we're going to do symptoms, so what they're actually physically like experiencing, but what behaviors then, so outwardly almost, you know, what signs. Fab, so we've got cancelling plans, My goodness me, they're all coming through so quickly, can't even keep up. Well done. So yes, we've got less communication, cancelling plans, withdrawn, absolutely. Loads of people put withdrawn, yep. Stop taking calls, absolutely. Not replying to texts or withdrawing, yep, because that's exactly what I do. Withdrawn, avoiding meeting up, absolutely. Distant, yep, constantly saying I'm fine, tell you this, that. Yes. So, you know, sometimes they will, as Mary says, they may actually say to you, you know, I am actually feeling very sad. And that's fantastic, you know, if they are in a position to vocalize that. But then we can see other ones, you know, where they may not be quite so direct, you know, and it's things that we're noticing, that maybe they're not replying to messages, or maybe they're a bit withdrawn, or they're not seeming like they want to maybe come out and socialize. And as Liv says as well, you know, constantly saying, oh no, I'm fine, everything's fine. And you're kind of noticing maybe everything isn't fine. But that's obviously them trying to protect, you know, what they think is protecting themselves, because I used to do it as well. You know, pushing people away, and really you just want them closer to you than ever. But because you feel so low and you feel, you know, so worthless within yourself, you don't feel as if that other, you know, you deserve that love and support from other people. Mary says, but yeah, displaying a different type of behavior, absolutely. So they may be behaving, you know, out of character, things that we're kind of not used to. So that's fabulous. Thank you so much for your contributions. So some of these you've already said, but there's a few other ones. So they may be more tearful. You may notice that they start speaking about death or mortality, or, you know, things like the purpose of life or the meaning of life, things like that, because that's something I would talk about quite a lot when my depression sort of flares up a bit. They may be more irritable, very tired, quite fatigued, though. That's the thing. It's a different type of tiredness. It's like complete exhaustion, as opposed to just, you know, oh, I didn't get a good sleep. Maybe they're not sleeping, or there could be, you know, some insomnia there. Not wanting to socialize, as you guys said, not attending or doing things that they used to enjoy. So one of the biggest things for me, my mum noticed, was that I had played sport literally since I could walk. And then when I turned 17, all of a sudden, I started to decrease the amount that I was playing and the things that I previously enjoyed. So I wouldn't have been going to basketball training. And then my mum was going, why are you not going to that? It's something you loved, you know? So just noticing that. If they may be struggling with uni work or deadlines as well. You know, that it can be very, very difficult with anxiety, particularly. It makes you procrastinate. And then you procrastinate, which makes you stressed because you're not doing the work, but you're stressed about doing the work, so then you procrastinate. So so it can be, you know, a vicious cycle, and very hard then to, you know, work with deadlines. There could be frequent mood changes, and I don't mean to diminish that and say, oh, you know, you're just being moody, like a flippant comment. I mean, you know, up and down, and not feeling as if they're consistent, or maybe they're not displaying consistent behavior. Not to say, you know, that one outburst, you know, doesn't mean necessarily that they've got a mental illness. You know, we're all individuals, and we all have, you know, certain things going on. But yeah, just being aware of that. If there are, as I say, any mood changes we're noticing. They may have low self-confidence, so they might start saying things, you know, oh, I'm really ugly, or what's the point of me doing that? I'm just going to fail at it anyway. Or nobody would care anyway, you know, nobody would care if I wasn't here anymore. Maybe things like that we're listening out for. And of course, that links in with the poor self-esteem. That can link in with body confidence or acceptance issues then. You know, so they start to maybe reflect that and internalize, because as we know, with mental illness, we want to be able to control our environments. And when we feel as if we're losing that control, sometimes we turn that inwards then, and that can be controlling what we eat. Not taking care of themselves, and this could be, you know, not taking medication. It could be, you know, not eating properly. But also it could be, you know, poor personal hygiene. And I don't mean that, again, in a derogatory way. You know, I myself would have struggled brushing my teeth, making myself have a shower, you know, and you're conscious of it, but because you feel so low and you have no energy and you've got all these other things going on, it's so difficult to make yourself do that, and to actually have the mental strength to do that. So there are a few things you might notice, within, as I say, your peers or friends or even family, you know. So what about symptoms then? So let's think about what might they be experiencing themselves if they are struggling with mental ill health. So we spoke about almost like the outward behaviors. What might they be experiencing then within themselves if they are struggling? So again, if you want to type into the chat some wee ideas, that would be fabulous. Absolutely, Sarah. Yep. So they may be feeling guilty or yep. Absolutely, excessive fear or worrying, panic or fear, absolutely, internal conflict, absolutely, Liv, or maybe conflict with others as well, you know, that might then become an outward sign as well. Desperation, absolutely, frustration, anxiety, fantastic. That's great, guys, thanks so much. So there's a few other things that they may be experiencing. Of course, this isn't everything because it's going to depend on, you know, the condition, you know, that they're struggling with. Yes, absolutely, Daniel. You know, there could be identity struggles as well. You know, young people particularly, you know, it's finding your place in the world, and it can be very, very unsettling and unnerving, especially when you feel like maybe you don't fit. And if you feel like you don't necessarily fit in, then it's, okay, well, where do I belong? And then, as we said, we start to internalize that and think that's a reflection of who we are. So other symptoms then that they might be experiencing, they may be sweating more, having more frequent headaches because of all that tension, and then that goes to the rest of the body. You can have muscle tension, but it seems as if there's almost no cause for it. You know, they may have aches and pains, but they haven't been running a marathon. You know, they haven't been doing big training sessions, but they're not necessarily sure why. You know, they're sore and they've got these unexplained aches and pains. They may be crying more. They may have trouble sleeping, as we said previously. Their heartbeat may become more rapid, particularly obviously with anxiety. Sometimes you feel as if, you know, your heart's almost skipping a beat, or like it flutters a little bit, and it makes you go like that. You can tell I've definitely had that one myself. Breathlessness, so feeling as if, you know, you can't catch your breath, or as if you can't get a full breath in. Your skin may be flushed, or their skin may be flushed. They may have trouble concentrating. So, you know, you may be working on a project together, and you may notice that they are really, really struggling to concentrate, or struggling to get their piece of work done, maybe, or you know, are finding it hard to kind of engage with like discussions and things, because obviously you've got so much going around in your mind that anything else that's coming in is like overwhelming. You know, it just tips you over. You go, oh my goodness, like my brain can't comprehend, you know, and take in everything that's going on right now. Someone else said this as well, fabulous, about the, you know, the feeling worthless and guilty, having, you know, the low self-esteem, as we said already. And they may vocalize that, but they may not. You know, it may be something internal where they're feeling it, but they're not necessarily speaking about it. Digestive problems. So this is a big one, particularly with anxiety. You know, having a wee upset tummy, or, you know, it can potentially go further than that, but having actual digestive issues. And we were speaking, for anybody who was in the second session on Tuesday about self-care, we were talking about the link between gut health and mental health. So we know that there's a big link there, and there's more research being done into this at the moment. But, you know, if my tummy is playing up, basically, I start to think, okay, is something going on? Is something else going on that maybe I haven't connected with, or I haven't noticed yet? Nausea, of course. You know, if we're having problems with the tummy, we might be also feeling a bit sick. Not to say they have to go together. You know, you could be feeling nervous, or they could be feeling, you know, a bit sicky or a bit worried, and you kind of don't really know where it's coming from. Fidgeting or restlessness. So that's another one as well. You know, if they maybe can't sit still, or they need to get up and walk around, or even, you know, say they're fiddling with a pen. That's one I do a lot, is sitting and playing with a pen. Self-destructive behaviors. So this could, you know, sometimes, well, you're probably used to hearing it as self-harm. We're trying to move away from calling it self-harm now, and try to call it, you know, either self-destructive or self-injurious behavior. Okay, so that you may notice that it could be, you know, physical things in terms of you may notice things on their arms or their legs, but it could be not eating properly. That's a self-destructive behavior, or deliberately putting themselves maybe in dangerous situations where, you know, perhaps that's out of character because they're not necessarily, they don't care necessarily about how what happens to them. So that idea of safety almost goes, you know, because you're feeling irrational. I remember there was one day where me and my partner had an argument, and I was up to high dough basically. And I basically got in the car and almost like ran away. I suppose, I mean, I only made it to the bus stop in the next road, but I just needed to get out, and that was my like, and then obviously my partner was worried because, oh my goodness, she's gone off in this state in the car, what's going to happen? But, you know, I could have taken that further, and that could have become something self-destructive. You know, I could have maybe gone and driven on the motorway, and I had to stop myself. I was actually able to, that's why I pulled into the bus stop to sit down, because I was like, don't go driving on the motorway, don't go and do something like that, don't put yourself in danger basically because you're feeling this way. And then, as we said, there may be changes to eating habits. Then, you know, overeating, as I spoke about before. Yeah, I'm definitely an overeater. Well, an emotional eater. Eat when I'm sad, eat when I'm happy, eat when I'm tired, eat when I'm celebrating. But you get people as well that go the other way and then maybe stop eating, okay, or are eating less. So there's lots of things, as you can see there. You know, that list isn't exhaustive, but you can see there's a lot of things that people are dealing with and experiencing within themselves that they might not be talking about. You know, that they're trying to battle with all these symptoms and then trying to live some sort of, you know, normal life. I say normal, I'll put that in little, you know, quotation marks, because what is normal really? But you get what I mean. You know, a happy, healthy, yes, you remembered from the other day, food is fuel, not therapy. That is my life mantra. So in order for you then to support your friend, or to support a peer, or, you know, a family member, it's important for us to develop our awareness as well. So we've spoken about this a little bit before, you know, asking that question, you know, how are you? But what do most people say? You know, if you go to them, well, how's things? How are you? What's going on? What do they normally, you know, just reply to that? You can pop it into the chat if you want. Absolutely. So, yep, get on, grand, I'm fine. Yeah, all good. Yeah, no complaints here. Can't complain, you know, all those types of things. But then when we ask that second question and go, yeah, living the dream's another one as well. I'm guilty. I say that one sometimes, Becca. But yeah, exactly. I'm fine. All's good. Yeah, all good here. Some people might say, oh, don't ask. But it depends on the tone, doesn't it? Because as you heard there, I can make it almost, I can brush it off by going, oh, don't even ask. How was your week? And I can turn that back quite easily, you know. But some people, they might go, oh, don't ask. And then maybe they do want you to ask, you know. So that's a great one, Brian. Thank you for bringing that up. So when you're saying, you know, you, most people are going to give that surface answer, you know, of, yeah, I'm grand, I'm fine, things are all right. But how are you really? That's the crucial bit, is asking that second question. And the thing is, this isn't just in relation to asking them. It's also asking yourself, you know, how are you? How are you really? How are you doing today? You know, checking in with yourself. What do I need? Are my needs being met? And when we're then looking in relation to other people, we need to be able to spot the signs. So hopefully some of those things that we've been speaking about, you may start to notice some of those. And the thing is, it doesn't hurt to ask the question and just ask them again, you know, how are you really? You know, I've noticed that, you know, maybe you're not coming out with us as much. You know, I hope it's not something we've done to upset you. Is there anything you need from me to support you? You know, and you're not turning it round on them and saying, why aren't you coming out with us? Do you see it's the tone difference there? You know, it's saying, I've noticed, or oh, I've seen that you're, you know, seem to be a little bit more stressed recently. Is everything okay? Or is there anything that you'd like to speak about? You know, and asking it in that way, I think it makes it much more approachable and less, it makes them less defensive. Because if somebody turns around to you and just goes, what's wrong with you? You're hardly going to want to go, oh, well, actually, all of this has been going on. You know, if somebody, it's almost accusatory in tone. So we want to be mindful again, as I said right at the beginning, about our words, our terminology is really, really important. So spotting the signs, being vigilant, you know, looking for, not necessarily, you know, not looking for the signs to be like, oh my goodness, right, you've missed one lesson, that means you have depression. I don't mean like that, you know, I mean just being vigilant. Maybe they'll give you a little clue in something that they say, or there might be a word that they use. Listening actively is so important. So we talk about listening, you know, listening is the root of all communication. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, people don't listen effectively or properly. They're not listening to actually understand or listening to empathize. They're just listening so that they know when it's their turn to speak again. Okay, so that's really, really crucial, particularly when somebody is maybe disclosing or discussing how they're feeling, is that, you know, sometimes they don't necessarily always want a solution. They don't want you to, you know, be able to say, right, we're going to solve all your issues here. Well, that's the links in with the next one here. You know, we don't have to solve everything for them, but it's holding that space, that safe space, and listening and allowing them that time, that judgment-free space where they can just speak. And, you know, what we can do as they're speaking, be conscious of our face, be conscious of how we're reacting, because I'm a very expressive person. So I have to make sure that when people are disclosing things to me, that I try and keep my face more neutral, because our body language and our facial expressions show so much without us even realizing. You know, if somebody rolls their eyes, you don't need to hear anything further. That said it all. So just being really, really careful about what are we communicating non-verbally or in a non-speaking sense as well. And then finally, keep inviting them to things. So, you know, they may not want to come. They may not feel as if they're ready, but they will feel remembered and they will feel thought of. So you know, keep inviting them. Even if they keep saying no, that's fine. Just keep inviting them still and say, well, the offer's there if you want it. We'd love to have you. Or I'd love to see you there. Something like that. You know, so they're not then thinking, oh God, they're inviting me and I've let them down again. You can, you know, that's why we're saying things like we'd love to see you, or don't worry if you can't come, not a problem, but we'd love to see you there. So, you know, no pressure. So even saying things like that is really, really helpful. You know, some people, some of my friends, you know, they know that with me. So they'll say, you know, no pressure, but we're going to so-and-so, blah, blah, if you want to come along, meeting there at 8, let us know, or something like that. And it's nice and casual. There's no obligation. And if I don't reply, they don't take that thick almost, you know, they don't turn around and be, oh, why didn't you reply to me? Because they know that there's something probably going on. So challenging conversations then. So let's see, how confident would you feel discussing mental ill health with a friend? So what I might do is make a little poll here and be snazzy like the other day. So I'm just going to type in how confident would you feel rather than the whole thing. So I'm going to put very, a little, I'll put so-so. That could be the choice. And then we'll say not very, and then we'll do very uncomfortable, something like that. Uncomfortable. So you can answer that. So, you know, how confident would you feel discussing, you know, something like that with a friend? Found that's great. Thank you for your replies here. So we've got a mixture, yeah, and that's grand. You know, these are all anonymous. I'm not going to zoom in and go, well, why do you feel this way? You know, so fab. Lovely. Absolutely. So we've got a mixture there across the board. Most people are saying a little. Some people said very. That's fantastic. And then we've got some, you know, so maybe, you know, not really, or actually, no, I'd feel really uncomfortable. So well done for replying to that and for being so honest there. So that question, as I said, that how are you and how are you really, can be a great way of starting this conversation. Okay, so sometimes, we start that conversation off at the surface level, and we do the whole, well, how's things? Any crack? How are you? How's the kids? How's the work going? And all that type of stuff. And then if you're sitting with them, in a one-on-one environment, you say, well, how are you really doing? How are you finding things? Is there anything that's stressful at the moment? Or if it's easier, what I like to do, particularly with young people, is that I will tell them something about me first. And it gives them permission to then talk. So I'll say something like, I'll tell you what, I've had a stressful week doing blah, 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 and as soon as you say that, that gives other people permission to open up, and they might go, yeah, actually, I was quite stressed this week. So question on the slide for you, Katie. Oh, I can't. Oh, there we go. About their mental health or mine. But well, both ways, I suppose. I'm more thinking, that's okay. I'm thinking at the moment, more in relation to their mental health. If that makes that a wee bit clearer. Sorry, I should have said. But it does go both ways, because obviously it can be challenging if we are the person, that's struggling with mental health, to have that conversation. But you could still use that. You could start that conversation by asking them, how are you really? And if they open up and they want to engage in that conversation, that could almost be a platform then, or a springboard for you to then say, do you know what? Actually, I've been really finding that hard. So if you get a little opening or a way in as well. So hopefully that makes that a wee bit easier. Or makes sense, sorry, not a wee bit easier. I'm used to saying that for the maths tutoring. So so encouraging connection and communication then. So I've mentioned this a little bit already, thinking about our gestures, our facial expressions, even things like our posture. Are we sitting with our arms folded and someone's trying to tell us something and we're going, yeah, not looking at them, eyes around the place. Somebody's not going to want to open up, are they? They know that they're not getting your full attention. Even things like, if you've got your back to them, making that effort to turn around and look at them. Some people may not want to sit directly opposite. So this is just something to notice, that some people don't feel comfortable sitting directly opposite if they are discussing something sensitive. So you may be better to sit side by side. So maybe if you're driving together in a car, or if you're in a coffee shop, sometimes people can feel a lot more comfortable, and as if it's easier to talk about things if they're sitting side by side. So that's just something to remember as well, because sometimes it almost can seem a bit confrontational, the one-on-one, or a bit intense for some people. So also think about, how are we feeling inside of ourselves? Are we projecting? Because a lot, this is something I know that I do this, and I have to really watch myself, because, for example, my partner might come home and I've had a bad day with my mental health, and I'll go, why haven't you done the dishwasher? Why haven't you done this? You didn't bring this home that I asked you to do, and you haven't done this. And he's going, oh my goodness, Katie, I've just walked in the door. Like, I've been out of work all day. When was I supposed to do the dishwasher? But that's me projecting. He hasn't done anything wrong there, and it's not his issue, if you like. It's me, with the way that I'm feeling. But because I'm close to him, I project it onto him. And then afterwards, I have to go and say, do you know what, I'm sorry about earlier. I didn't mean that. I was, feeling a bit out of sorts, and I took it out on you. But our relationship has really improved since I've been doing that. And it's okay. It's okay to say sorry. And do you know what? Yeah, I did mess up there. Or I was a little bit harsh, sorry. Or, I wasn't really listening properly. Or, it goes both ways. So mindful communication, as we've said, we're thinking about the power of our words. We're thinking about the weight behind our words. Because, I think I mentioned this the other day, can you think of like a teacher or somebody that said something nasty to you as you were growing up? So I wonder if I ask everyone that, actually, if you want to pop it into the chat, you don't have to name them, by the way. But if I said, could you think of a teacher or somebody growing up that said something nasty to you? Can you remember them and what they said? So as I say, you don't have to say, but just a yes or no would be fab. There we go. Absolutely. So we can all think of someone, and as Liv said there as well, it sticks with you. And that's the thing, you know, you can remember what they said, you can remember how they said it, their tone, their face expressions, and we have that then ingrained in our minds. We remember that, and that their words that they've used have become our inner monologue, you know. And it's the same with parents. Things that parents say to children, that becomes their inner voice, that becomes the voice in their head, because that's what they've heard. So we have to be so careful, you know, about the words that we are using, and just making sure that we're not being accusatory or asking questions in a certain way. You know, we want to ask them in an open way, rather than a closed question that's just like, do you feel sad? But we'll come back more to that in terms of the questions afterwards. So we want to actively listen, as we've already said, but also being non-judgmental. And even saying that, you know, so everybody that I work with, I say, you know, this is a safe space. You're not going to be judged for anything that you say here. And explicitly saying that out loud, because we might know it and we might think, well, obviously I'm not going to judge them. They're my friend. I want to help them. But hearing that is really valuable. Hearing somebody say to you, look, I'm not going to judge you for this. There's no judgment here. I'm not here to pass comment. I'm just here to support you, and I just want to listen and help you. Okay. Next one, being responsive and not reactive. So when we're reactive, that is something that's immediate. We're reacting to it straight away. We're not necessarily thinking, taking that second to process what they've said, but also to formulate an effective answer, you know, so that we're actually being responsive and responding to their needs, and being a bit more gentle in our approach, as opposed to reactive, which can sometimes not have much thought behind it. And that's when things like arguments and whatever else could kind of erupt from that. And of course, we want to be clear, concise, and also check for understanding. So what I mean by that is, if somebody says something to you, you then turn that back to clarify. You say, so what I'm hearing from you, or what I hear you saying, or just so that I've understood this correctly, did you mean blah, blah, blah when you said that? Because you're checking for the clarity there, because they may be saying things like, you know, I don't want to be here anymore, or I don't really like my life. They may say things that are kind of coded or a little bit cryptic. And then you can go back and check and say, you know, things like, I forgot what I was talking about. Check for understanding. So I did so well there, didn't I? I got to the last sentence and I don't want to about anymore, guys. So blame that on my medication, all right? It makes me forgetful. Yeah, you know, you can go back and check for that understanding and say, okay, so what I'm hearing you saying is that you don't want to be here anymore. And when you say that, can you clarify what you mean for me? And if they feel uncomfortable, maybe using the word, you know, just trigger warning, I'm going to say the word suicide. You know, they may then come back and say, yeah, I am feeling suicidal. Or they may just say, no, I just feel really down. But there's no harm in you asking that question. And that's the thing you'll learn as well if you ever do, you know, suicide training, about how, you know, there's something called assist. I don't know if anybody's done it. I'll type in the chat quickly. Assist. Training, which is fab. It's applied suicide intervention skills training. Really, really worth doing. Very powerful stuff. But, you know, they say, be clear, ask the question, you know, are you thinking about taking your own life? Are we talking about suicide when you say that? So being very, very clear. And I know it can be terrifying sometimes, you know, to use that word, or to, you know, have those conversations. And then we think, oh my goodness, what am I meant to say now? If they say yes, what am I meant to do now? But we will come on to that. But there, you know, we want to be going back and checking then for that understanding. So things we want to avoid them when we are trying to support a friend. We don't want to be dismissive or diminishing. So that might look like, I'll use some phrases actually that have been said to me over the years. You know, dismissive, they might say, sure, what's wrong with you? You're all right anyway, aren't you? Oh, it's not that bad. Come on, you've got a smile on your face. And sometimes people think that those flippant comments are helpful, you know, because they're like, come on, you know, they think they're being positive. But what you're actually saying there is your problem isn't a problem. You're dismissing it. or it diminishes it and go, come on, it's not that bad though, is it? It's not. This is another great one that I said to me. It's not like you've got cancer, is it? Comparing, when they make that comparison, it diminishes it. And you're going, okay, well, so you've basically told me now that you don't believe me or you don't think it's serious enough. So we want to be careful about saying things like that. Also, belittling then comes within that, or ignoring their concerns. Yeah, exactly, Becky. Yeah, it makes you feel even more guilt, because then you're like, well, do I have a right to feel this way? Should I only be feeling this way if I have got, say, cancer, or I don't know, I've had a stroke, something else. But when it's just your mental health, there is still that stigma. You're right, Becca. That makes people then feel guilty, and then all that's doing is adding fuel to the fire. Ignoring their concerns, again, that can be just batting them away. That's not a big deal. Why are you worrying about that? Oh, you'll do fine on that anyway. And a lot of parents say things like that. You'll be fine anyway. And we don't realize that they may actually be trying to tell us something is wrong. But as I say, sometimes it's a bit coded or a little bit cryptic. So you kind of have to pick that apart with some extra questions and patience as well. Being assumptive. So what I mean by that is assuming that we know what they're going to say. So a lot of the time, if we are supporting somebody that is struggling with mental illness, there will be the same conversations and the same things that come up. And, sometimes, oh, I'm just reading what Liv said, makes you feel even more alone. Yeah, exactly. That is it, Liv. It makes you feel even more alone because you feel like you're not being heard. And then you're going, no one's listening to me. Why is no one listening? And then you internalize it. Well, obviously, I'm not worthy of listening to because I'm a bad person. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve happiness. And all of that can spiral from one little comment. And that unfortunately is the nature of mental illness. And exactly, Mary, spot on. Their fears are genuine for them. That's it. And that's what we were speaking about in a previous session, about real and perceived threats. For people on the outside, they may be like, obviously that's not bad. Obviously, for some people might go, you're only doing a test. But for them, that's the way they see it. They're in that mind space where it's only a test. But for other people, that can be a huge trigger. We don't know what's gone on beforehand. They may have, and have had a negative experience that's then in turn caused that reaction. But yeah, Mary's right there. They are genuine for them, or genuine for us, should I say? So as I say, being assumptive, then we don't want to assume that we know what they're going to say, because that can make us switch off. And it can make us not then listen actively, which then starts to come across in our body language, in our facial expressions. And then as soon as you feel, as Liv said, as soon as you feel that somebody's not listening to you or you're not being listened to or heard, you shut down. Makes you feel even more alone and you go, nope, I don't want to talk about anything anymore. And there was a study done that showed on average, it takes 3 years for somebody who has disclosed something, if they are shut down in the first instance, ignored or not supported properly. On average, it takes 3 years for them to go back and try and seek some support. So that's 3 years of living with symptoms, living with, all these things happening. So it's quite important that we are, taking them seriously, and we are giving them that time and space, and listening, effectively, listening out for those little keywords that they might be saying, or maybe they haven't worded something in a way that they normally would. And you can just ask the question, what did you mean by that? Or, when you said that the other day, you can go back to it. It's not something that you have to sit there and plow on and go, right, we're going to discuss this for 4 hours, because, you guys, some of you might be qualified counsellors, but, majority of people aren't qualified counsellors. You're not in a position to do that. But just sitting and listening and just saying, I'm here to support you. Don't panic as well. So a lot of the time people do panic, because, we go, oh my goodness, this is somebody I love or somebody I care about. I hate to think they're going through this. What can I do? Have I not done enough? And that's what happens, is that people start to turn it around onto them, and they make it about them rather than about the other person. So then they start going, oh my God, what can, what have I done to make this happen? Is it my fault? And you're going, just listen to the other person. Just be, you don't need to do that right now. You can maybe do that later, but for now you need to be there for them. I skipped over that one about telling them it's just a phase. This is literally one of my absolute pet hates, is when people go to me, oh, it's probably just a phase. And I say to them, well, it's been a 12-year phase, so it's quite long. So, it's quite a long one. Yes, it winds me up, something else. And anybody I know that I've spoken to, it's that same idea of being dismissive or diminishing, where you're going, it's only a phase. And it allows it to be brushed away or batted off and not taken seriously. So yeah, please avoid that. A word that I would use, instead of saying to somebody, this is probably a phase, I would say things like, this could be a temporary feeling. So using that word, because it doesn't undermine it, it just says you might only be feeling it for a short amount of time, but it doesn't say to them, oh, you're being dramatic or you're making it, because a phase implies that, oh, it's just something you're going through, or maybe you're being a bit dramatic about it. It's just part of life. It kind of doesn't take it seriously. So yeah, you can say that about, it might be a temporary feeling. Yeah, absolutely. It says more about the person saying it, to be honest, Kathy, you're right. Also thinking you have to fix everything for them or solve all your problems immediately. Because remember as well, you still have to look after your mental health. So you don't have to take on absolutely everything and go, right, we're going to fix all the problems. I'm going to solve all of this for you. Because as we said already, we may not be in a position to do that. But it doesn't mean that we still can't listen. And we can hold that space and we can demonstrate our support. Also, do not break their trust and please respect their privacy. However, I will caveat that with the only time that you do breach that is if they're a danger to themselves or to somebody else. Okay, so if they're saying that they're going to harm themselves, if they're saying that they're wanting to hurt themselves or hurt other people, that is when you can then breach that confidentiality and then go to obviously the relevant services, whether that is speaking to the university department, whether it's phoning Samaritans, whether it's going with them to the hospital, whether it's phoning the police because you're feeling unsafe. Maybe you phone 101, rather than 999. But if they have hurt themselves, just to say as well, phone 999. Okay, nobody's expecting you to be able to deal with that. That's what the emergency services and the professional services are there for. Okay, so if you feel out of your depth, basically. So, oh, that's fab. Stella's popped in there. If you're confused, just worried about a peer, make sure you reach out and help speak to someone. And then there's a wee link to the wellbeing hub there for Ulster. So thank you. So what to try when supporting a friend? That is kind of essentially the opposite. But we'll go through a few of them. So being approachable, of course, we've said this. We want to be approachable. We want there to be, a judgment-free space, and saying that, I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to listen and support you because I care about you. Asking open questions without making suggestions. So that's what I was speaking about earlier. Instead of asking the closed questions, which is basically just yes or no, do you feel sad? Do you feel this way? Why I don't know. Do you feel as if you're going to do XYZ? Asking those questions are very closed because it's very much yes or no. And what you're doing there is closing down the conversation. So you're actually closing that down when you're doing that, because if somebody asks you an open question, it allows them to take it in the direction that they want to, and it also allows them to share as much as they're comfortable with. Okay, so you could say, talk to me about how you've been feeling recently, or has that been something that's going on for a long time? And that could be yes or no, but they might say, yeah, it's been going on for, and then they'll open up then, and it goes into a conversation then. So asking the questions, because then you're not putting the words in their mouth for them. They're using their own words and their own feelings, their own emotions, their own thoughts. They're able to describe them then in the way that they're experiencing them, as opposed to what we're framing them as. we've already mentioned this as well, but I will keep reiterating it. Really listening and being patient. Listening is the basis of all communication, as we've already said, and it is really so crucial that we're listening to understand and we're listening to empathize. Active listening, absolutely, it's so crucial. Do not rush them, allow them to speak freely. So sometimes, if you are maybe between lessons and somebody grabs you and you're having a chat, you could even say things like, I'm really, really sorry, I've got to go to this lesson here, but what are you doing at lunchtime? Or what are you doing at 4 o'clock? Do you want to go get a coffee? Or do you want to, almost book in a time, if you like, but, do you want to put this in our diary, pencil it in, and we'll get a proper chat then? So you're not dismissing it and saying, okay, you're being ridiculous, or you're being dramatic, or I don't believe you. You're saying, I do respect what you're saying. At this precise moment, I cannot deal with it, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to come back to this, because I value what you said and I value that you've reached out to me. Because the thing is, we have to be practical as well. Sometimes we hear in training, right, you're meant to drop everything and be there for them, but sometimes it's not practical. Sometimes there's other things going on, and unfortunately that is part of real life. But if we do have the time, fantastic, do it there and then. And if it is obviously an emergency, there and then. But if it's something, you could say to them, would you mind if we spoke about that in a couple of hours? I've just got to go to this class, or I've just got a meeting, but afterwards I really want to sit down with you and talk about that, if that's all right with you. And then they go, oh, okay, yeah. So it's, they do care. They do care about me, they do value me, they do believe me, and they are going to listen to me. Often the most important part of the conversation will be at the very end. Yes, absolutely. Mary, if you've got any things that that you'd like to use, or maybe that you have used as well at the end of conversations, please feel free to share those. Always good to hear from others as well, what you guys are doing. Thank them as well, of course. Well, we're reassuring them, showing our support, but we've kind of said that. Thanking them for being open and honest. So thanking them, for coming to you, for sharing that experience. And that can be saying things like, I appreciate that this must have been really difficult for you. You've been so brave for sharing that with me. Thank you. And for anybody that has done the mental health first aid, that is part of it, thanking them. Because what you're doing when you thank somebody for talking to you or for sharing their experience is not only are you validating it, but you're also saying to them that you've done the right thing. You've done a good thing here by sharing that. Okay, so it's something really tiny. And most people, when you first say it, it can feel a bit strange. It almost feels a little bit forced when you go, thank you for sharing that with me. It can feel a little bit strange. But the more you do it, the more it just feels natural. Same with anything, the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And then remembering it's okay, and this is for you guys, it's okay if you don't know how to help them. Because, as we said, not everyone is going to be a qualified counsellor or a mental health nurse. We're not going to necessarily know what to do to make it better. But this is just an example of, something that you could say. So you could say something like, thank you so much for sharing that with me. That must be really difficult to deal with. I don't know how to help you right now, but what I want you to know is that I am here for you. Okay, so we can look for some support together, and also then we can see what else we can do to support you. So, obviously you'd tailor that for how you would naturally say it, but you can see there all the key things are in there about thanking them, appreciating and validating that it must have been difficult for them. Being honest, I don't know how to help you, but I'm showing my support because I am here for you, and I want to be here for you. And you can say that, I want to be here for you and I want to support you. Let me know what you need from me, saying it that way. But also within all of those, or those last couple of sentences there in the quotes, would anybody like to have a guess at the most important word? Let's see if people want to guess in the chat. So I have another wee scan through. There's one word and it's not repeated. So that will be another clue as well. It's one word, not quite, not thank you. There's one word in there that is really crucial. It's along the lines of we, so you're very close, Mary. Everyone's guessing every other word in the sentence. Maybe actually. Always the way, isn't it? Okay, maybe I'll tell people. Oh, Siobhan's got it. Siobhan's got it. Together. Together. Well done, though. Thank you very much for guessing, guys. So together is the most important word there, because you are saying, I'm going to do this with you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to come on that journey with you. Or I'm going to, you know, if you want me to maybe come to the doctor's appointment, or if you want me to wait outside afterwards and maybe we'll get a coffee, something like that. But when you say to somebody, we're doing it together, it takes that onus and that responsibility just off of that person then. And it feels, even though, you know, you're not going to be the one doing the counselling or, you know, anything like that, it almost feels as if it's shared the responsibility a little bit. You know, obviously in real terms, it hasn't, but it feels that way for someone. When you say that we're going to do this together, they almost breathe a sigh of relief. That phrase there is based off what my mum said to me when she took me to the doctors then as a result of this, because she noticed a change in my behaviour when I was 17. So it was her saying to me, come on, we'll do this together if you want. And as soon as she said that, I was like, yeah, okay. Because it's like, right, I've got somebody with me. I've got that support. Not feeling as if you're alone. Because the thing is, when you're struggling with mental illness anyway, you already feel like you're alone. You feel isolated. You feel like you're the only person that's ever felt it to that extreme. And that's how you feel. Nobody's going to understand how I'm feeling. So when someone says to you together, oh, big sigh of relief. Encouraging a friend to seek help then. So same referral services as I always mention. Use your teachers, lecturers, educators. Maybe there's a youth worker or a leader that you feel comfortable speaking to. University Wellbeing Department, as we've had just linked in there, right on cue. Well done. So, as if by magic, it appears. A good first starting point as well is the GP, because they can obviously then refer them into other services. And as I say, you know, if they want you to come with them to the GP appointment, if you feel comfortable to do that, that's absolutely fine. But if they don't want you to come in, give them the option, you know, ask what they want you to do. But as we said, you know, do you want me to meet you afterwards and we'll go for a coffee? Or do you want to catch up that evening and we'll go for a walk? Or, you know, something like that. Mental health charities, of course, fantastic. A lot of them have, you know, the free resources or helplines, or email support services as well that you can access. Community support groups. So Aware would do them. I do them in the Mind Tribe. You know, free mental health support groups. Maybe getting a mentor or a coach as well can be really great for them. If they are in a very, very dark place, I wouldn't necessarily say coaching is what they need at that point. They probably do need more of like the mentor side, like the actual interventions, you know, and then maybe looking towards the coaching as they start to heal. But again, you know, it depends how they're feeling. And then, of course, you know, encouraging them, maybe it'd be worth going to talking therapy or CBT or some sort of counselling. But just remember, you know, don't force them into doing any of that and saying, oh, well, obviously you don't want to help yourself if you don't want to do that, you know, because again, all you're saying there is, oh, well, you should have been able to do it already. You should have been able to sort it out, you know, and again, that then builds to the guilt. So you've got a few different ones there, but as I already mentioned as well, if it is an emergency, 999. And then finally, my final point, bang on 11 o'clock. As I told you, it'll be right up to time. Establish those boundaries and keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe in terms, you know, self-care, look after you, because when you're in that good place, you're able to support other people then in the most effective way, but also protecting your own energy. Okay. So they are my little contacts. Just if anybody does want to reach out, and I'm just going to pop my email address in one more time. chibuk@gmail.com. Sorry, I have to say it out loud, don't I, every time I type it. So I'm like, the mind tribe, you go. So yes, they're my details. Feel free to connect with me, to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. So I'm going to stop sharing now and hand back to Shauna.
Thank you, Katie. What I've done is I have popped in, because you're actually doing a session now at 12 about the power of growth mindset. So I set the link in there, but also you can rewatch some of the other sessions that Katie has done this week as well too. So I've popped them into the chat box as well too. Bang on, just after 11 now. What I'm going to do, guys, is just before we finish up, it is the last day of Future Skills Week. There is a few more sessions. If you'd like to attend them, straight away now you have the Careers Cafe for any of the graduates. What's next with Donna? And then we have to finish our speech or our week. We have then our Unlock Your Future with David Mead as well too. I'm going to stop recording now.